Please welcome the President of the United Farm Workers of America, Mr. Arturo Rodriguez.
Arturo.
Thank you.
¡Se puede! ¡Se puede! ¡Se puede! Sisters and brothers, we are so excited here in the farm worker movement to have everybody come together, to have folks like Bobby Kennedy Jr., to have Dolores Huerta, Paul Chavez, Teatro Campesino, all of the honorees joining with us today. This is a historic moment. Today, we celebrate one of the milestones in the American civil and labor rights movement, the 50th anniversary of the Delano grape strike. 50 years ago, this month, Filipino and Latino grape workers did what many thought was impossible. They took on the mightiest industry in California, an industry that viewed itself as invincible. And for good reason. Before Delano in '65, every farm worker struggle to win collective bargaining rights had been defeated. Every farm worker strike had been broken. Every farm worker union had been crushed. Courage is about doing what comes hard, not what comes easy. It took plenty of courage and even more sacrifice for the grape strikers to triumph, but they did. When the Delano grape growers finally journeyed to the 40 acres to sign their first union contracts on July 29, 1970 in the Ruther Hall right behind me, Cesar Chavez addressed hundreds of strikers and boycotters who had assembled. 95% of the strikers lost their homes and their cars. Cesar said, but I think in losing those worldly possessions, they found themselves. What the grape strikers achieved went far beyond themselves. They also convinced millions of people in North America to join La Causa by boycotting grapes and other products. They inspired succeeding generations of Americans to social and political activism. And they created a revolution, an empowerment and self-determination among Latinos that is felt in every corner of America today. For all of that, we gather to honor the grape strikers who sparked the revolution 5 decades ago, plus the boycotters, plus the marchers, and the full-time union staff who helped themselves achieve victory after 5 long years. By doing so, the strikers established the first enduring farm workers union in American history. We will shortly honor many of the surviving veteranos who made history back then. But this day must be more about than honoring the past. Caesar said if the movement did not survive his passing, then his work and the work of all those who sacrificed so much would have been in vain. So today we also honor the present. We celebrate the farm worker heroes of today who live out the legacy and stand in the light of those pioneers from '65. Joining us now from across the length and breadth of California are worker leaders from ranches where they already have won union contracts. Más cerquita. Más cerquita. ¿Qué tal, Agustín? These are worker leaders from ranches where they are negotiating union contracts. Some of them after walking out on strike to vote in union elections. And a leader from two of the ranches that were just struck last month over mistreatment and unfair labor practices. It is my honor to introduce to you worker leaders of today from some of the companies under UFW contract. First is our sister Olga Velarde. Olga, pasa aquí adelante. Olga is an elected member of the ranch committee at Derrigo Brothers, one of the largest lettuce and vegetable growers in the country. Olga labored at Derrigo when workers voted for the UFW in one of the first elections back in 1975, 41 years ago. It took Olga and the rest of her workers and the rest of the workers there 30 years and passage of the mandatory mediation law that the UFW pushed through for Olga to win their first contract at Derrigo, but she did. Today, that union contract protects 2,000 lettuce and vegetable workers in the Salinas and Imperial Valleys. In last year's renegotiation, Derrigo workers won coverage under the union's Robert F. Kennedy medical plan for them and for their families for the first time. Muchísimas gracias, Olga, por todo su trabajo, todo su labor. Gracias, Olga. Next, we have Sister Anselma Barrios, a worker leader at Dole Berry, one of America's largest strawberry employers with 1,100 berry workers in the Watsonville and Oxnard area. Anselma just helped renegotiate the UFW contract and won significant increases in company contributions for the Robert F. Kennedy medical plan there. Dole Company agreed to increase the employer contribution from $272 a month to $447 a month, a 65% increase. Dole workers also gain major increases in wages and other benefits. Thank you, Sister Anselma Barrios. Muchísimas gracias, hermana. Next is Florentino Reyes, an elected member of the Union Ranch Committee at Gargullo Tomato Company in Firebaugh in West Fresno County. Florentino and the other 350 tomato workers at Gargullo walked out on strike demanding the union in 2012 and then voted in an election and won 100% that election. Gargullo is one of 4 companies now in the San Joaquin Valley, mostly growing tomatoes, where more than 1,500 workers in total have won UFW contracts since 2012. In 3 years, the UFW now represents more than 30% of the green tomato workers in California. Florentino just helped renegotiate a sizable wage increase, 65 cents for a bucket of tomatoes. And since they're using a smaller bucket than everyone else at non-union companies, Florentino and his co-workers are making even more money. They are the highest paid tomato workers in the United States today. They also won union pension benefits under the UFW's Juan de la Cruz pension plan. Muchísimas gracias, Florentino, y a todos los hermanos trabajando ahí en Gargullo. Sí se puede. Agustín García. Y también Ofelia. Agustín Garcia y Ofelia Reyes. They are 2 workers here from Growen Farming Company just north of us here in Fresno County that employs up to 5,000 workers at peak season. The biggest tree fruit grower in the United States today. 1,500 of those Growen workers work in table grapes. The UFW already won a general labor wage hike from $9 an hour to $11 an hour, a 22% increase for these workers. Other Grauen workers won wage increases of up to $3 an hour. These workers won a union contract hammered out by a neutral state mediator in 2013 under the state's mandatory mediation law that the UFW got enacted. But to avoid paying millions of dollars that Grauen already owes the workers under that union contract, the company is fighting its workers tooth and nail. A state administrative law judge last week found the company guilty of illegally trying to rid itself of the union, and Grauen is now taking that course to the California Supreme Court. But sisters and brothers, this is what Grauen was doing and the rest of the tree fruit and table grape industry. They paid a woman $20,000 to go out and to bring buses, to get t-shirts, to get food, to pay workers, to try to demonstrate against these workers that have been fighting for their union. They are strong. They are going to continue that fight until they win. Gracias, hermanos y hermanas. Finally, let me welcome a longtime friend that many of you know. He's the Secretary General of the Union Ranch Committee at Monterrey Mushrooms in Morgan Hill near San Jose. He's been at the company for at least 40 years now. Rogelio is here on behalf of UFW members at 75% of the California fresh mushroom industry protected by union contracts. Unionized mushroom workers like Rogelio average more than $40,000 a year in wages. Plus, they've got a generous medical, dental and vision benefits, a pension plan, paid holidays and vacations, and much more. They get more than I do. It's great. Rogelio recently received the Cesar Chavez Legacy Award during a ceremony at the White House with President Obama. Now, please give a warm welcome to Rogelio Lona, who is speaking on behalf of all the union members and other farm workers who are living the legacy today. Rogelio.
Buenos días. Good morning. My name is Rogelio Lona, and I am the General Secretary of the Monterrey Ranch Committee. As well, I've been on the negotiations committee for we negotiate our contract. I have been working at Monterrey Mushroom Morgan Hill for 40 years, picking mushrooms. In behalf of all of the current contract members and the worker leaders through the country, I would like to thank the strikers. The strikers show us the value and the courage needed to take the risks to improve farm workers' conditions. In my workplace, we use their extraordinary example to create necessary changes, such as when in 1981 we make a decision to go on a strike, and we were on a strike for 96 days. At the end, we won the first contract. We now have 9 paid holidays, up to 6 weeks of paid vacations. Family medical, family dental, family vision, a pension plan, annual wage increase, and seniority. But the most important thing for us was the respect and dignity that we get with the contract. In 1988, we faced a tremendous challenge in negotiations. The company management shut down the company for 6 months. We lost our jobs and money for 6 months. We called Cesar Chavez for help, and he figured out a way to keep talking and get the company to start working again. As a leader in my company, I have done house meetings, work stoppage, march, and other protests to improve our contract. That we have with Monterrey Mushrooms. With all of those examples that Cesar and all of you provides us, we have found the tools to continue improving our living conditions. Por el valor que ustedes tuvieron en el 65, nos enseñaron a tomar valor y no tener miedo para seguir luchando y mejorando las condiciones de vida para nosotros los campesinos y nuestras familias. ¡Sí se puede! Muchas gracias.
There are many more farm workers, heroes of today, at other companies under UFW contract who are not here. For example, Gallo of Sonoma, the biggest winery in America, to Chateau San Michel, the largest winery in Washington State, to 3 Mile Canyon, one of the biggest dairies in Eastern Oregon. They come from different crops, different parts of California, and different states. But all of them have one thing in common. They owe a deep debt of gratitude to the pioneers of the 1965 Delano grape strike. So, muchísimas gracias otra vez a todos ustedes que están aquí con nosotros este día. There are countless other workers, mostly at non-union ranches. We owe you a debt of gratitude because they have won new legislative, regulatory, and legal protections through the UFW. Many lives have been saved since 2005 when the UFW convinced then Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger to issue the first state heat standards in the nation to help prevent farm workers from dying or getting ill from extreme temperatures. Many more lives are going to be saved because farm workers partnering with the UFW settled a lawsuit in the state of California this spring that is boosting enforcement of those heat rules. Thousands of farm workers outside of union contracts are benefiting because the UFW helped them file class action suits after being cheated out of their pay because of wage and hour violations and because of sex discrimination. One of those lawsuits over wage theft is being settled for $4.5 million this year at Sunview Vineyards, and we're very grateful for those workers. We also have with us table grape workers who are working and fighting for those wage lawsuits. Muchas gracias a todos ustedes que están aquí con nosotros este día. María Cervantes, Miguel Díaz y Catalina Robles. Muchas gracias. Because more than half of all U.S. farm workers are undocumented, the UFW has helped lead the national fight for immigration reform. The UFW negotiated with the big grower associations to fashion the farm labor provisions of the bipartisan immigration reform bill that passed the U.S. Senate on a bipartisan vote in 2013 before House Republicans killed it. It would have allowed over 1 million immigrant farm workers and their immediate family members earn the right to permanently stay here in the United States. We also worked closely with the White House and President Obama on the executive order he issued in November. A sister organization, UFW Farm Worker Movement, the UFW Foundation, is actively helping thousands of farm workers and other poor immigrants with legal representation and preparing to assert their immigration rights. With globalization transforming agriculture, the UFW works now beyond the borders of the United States, across Mexico, Central and South America, to boost farm worker pay and protections across state and national boundaries. In 2008, we